My name is Jarrett. Welcome to SimpleGuy Gaming, doing a brand new video series on the channel called Quarantine. So we're going to call this is just Quarantine. We're going to do some family interviews. You've heard the voice on the channel before screaming at me and Nick about how we should, don't you guys ever fucking learn. This is my dad.
How's it going?
Basically what the interview entails is we're just going to talk about stuff that I have seen, he's seen, movies, games, comics, whatever gets brought up during the interview. We do this normally just out in the living room, and I thought, hey, put it on camera. Might as well. So, what I was telling you earlier about that I was going to say for the interview was that they announced that they're going to work on a Blues Brothers remake. And what's his name? Lorne Michaels, the guy who runs SNL, will be steamheading the project. He's basically running it and producing it, I guess. And Dan Aykroyd is attached, just not as an actor.
I just don't think they should mess with Blues Brothers, dude. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Other than that, though, recent movie you've enjoyed that you didn't expect to?
Probably Knives Out.
That was a really good movie.
I like that movie.
I did not see the twist. No spoilers. We're not going to tell you what happens just in case if you haven't seen it. It was a really good movie. Chris Evans in that role in that movie was fantastic, and so was Daniel Craig. It was just a star-studded cast, and they did fantastic. I believed the story they put forth. Least liked movie this year.
Probably It.
Fair enough. Fair enough. He has actually read the It Stephen King book, so I didn't expect him to like the movie, the new one, because it kind of tangents off. Even though it gets it closer to the actual book than the TV movie, it still doesn't capture the true horror of Stephen King's novel.
It doesn't capture the horror of Tim Curry as Pennywise, because it's supposed to be a clown, it's supposed to have some comedy in it, and he does it well.
True, and let's be honest, Tim Curry's a hell of an actor.
Very much so.
There's a quote that actually I like to bring up sometimes, and it's like, you can tell how a person is by what Tim Curry movie that they name first. Most people usually go for Rocky Horror Picture Show or It. Even though you could go Legend, Clue, McHale's Navy. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
McHale's Navy was a goof. He was having fun making the movie, I'm sure, but
oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't put that as a movie I would recognize him from.
Fair enough.
I like the part he played in The Shadow.
That's the one with Alec Baldwin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And his sweaty balls.
Sweaty balls. Bad Betty's backpack shack.
Smack that behind the back the dog track.
Oh, that's great. All right. So you've been playing a lot of Diablo recently, Diablo 3.
A little bit.
A little bit. I think you put more time into that than I have. And I started playing it before you.
And I took a few months off.
So, with the announcement of Diablo 4, what stuff would you like to see from Diablo 3 be put into Diablo 4, removed from Diablo 4? What do you like? What's your ideal Diablo game?
I would have to say that I would like to see the ability to use more than one legendary power you know what I mean? When you extract them through the cube, I would like to see maybe you could stack 3 on at a time. And
you mean for each category? Like,
yes.
3 jewelries, 3 weapons, 3 armors.
And maybe get rid of some of the useless legendary stones.
Some of them are pretty useless.
Substitute them with something else.
Yeah. Story-wise, Diablo 4. Do you want it to return back to its gothic background, or do you want it to keep with the more whimsy playstyle?
I think what needs to happen is your world from 3 should migrate to a new world, like Sanctuary 2 or whatever. You know, they're following the evil instead of just remaking the evil.
That's actually really cool. So, in Diablo 4, it's like said, I think they said 100 years, maybe more.
I haven't even looked at Diablo 4. You know that, right?
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
No.
Well, it's not really spoilers. It's not really spoilers because it's kind of just like in still pre-development. We're not going to get it for another 3 to 4 years, possibly.
Yeah. Because
it's Blizzard.
At
least they take time, like instead of just releasing it half-assed.
Yeah, they do. Instead of it being 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 - 17. Add 32. Square root of 14.
Well, a game that we all wanted right away but never got until like 10 years later was StarCraft 2, and StarCraft 2 was fantastic. At least they worked on it. And
it was good. I liked it, but I did not like it as much as I liked Brood War, actually. So
that's usually everyone's favorite.
I really think I think there's quite a few games that should be remade, actually.
And that's actually one of the topics I wanted to talk to you about later on. So with Diablo 4, it's set, I think, 100 to possibly 200 years into the future, after Diablo 3. Evil and the legendary Nephilim and all this has kind of been tales, I guess. And someone stumbles upon an old relic and accidentally releases Lilith.
Oh, lovely.
Who created the Nephilim that you play in Diablo 3. Not necessarily created them, but birthed, like, she's the one who created the Nephilim in the first place. So, my question is she going to be the main antagonist, or does this lead to something further? And I like your idea of it affecting it, so I would really like to see, like, if you play this character in, like, Diablo 4, you can stumble upon legends of whatever character you chose to play as. Barbarian, for an example of you. So you're playing Diablo 4, all of a sudden you find a book about the Nephilim that defeated Diablo in the high heavens. Tells about the barbarians.
Make me feel like I only play barbarian.
Well, no, you play the necromancer. I think you had a monk, a demon hunter. You have other characters, but your main seasonal character that you've ran for the past 4 seasons is barbarian.
I actually have a crusader also.
That you do.
He's kind of like a girl a little bit, though.
So when I say, I want it to affect the world, that's what I'm talking about. It's just, having stuff that you've done in Diablo 3 have effect in Diablo 4.
I think it would be really cool if they added to the adventure and let you unlock the stuff that you have in Diablo 3 and start with it in Diablo 4.
That'd be cool. You stumble upon your character and make it you can make it a 2% chance of randomly finding your old Diablo 3 character.
No.
Getting all your set pieces or legendary.
That's that would be okay. Or maybe
whatever transform.
As a reward for bounties or story mode or whatever, and you can get all your stuff back. That would be very cool. Then you would be able to go and trade or purchase stuff that would be upgrading your character.
Absolutely. I like that idea, actually. So with remakes being the most popular thing for some reason for video games,
lack of imagination.
Exactly. Other than Underground 2, because I know that's your number 1 all-time remaked game.
Actually, it's not.
Really? What is it?
I would like to see them bring Robotron from the stand-up video game that it was back in the mid to late 80s and maybe kind of revamp it a little bit and make it for the Xbox One. and PlayStation.
So stand-up arcade Robotron? That would be really cool.
Have you ever seen it?
I think I've seen it on like where they're talking about stand-up arcade games, but I've actually never seen any gameplay of it.
The story of it is you are a human warrior, and there are other humans walking around in the area you're in, and aliens are trying to eat them. The more people you save, the better off you are.
Oh, cool.
And the higher the level gets, the faster the game goes.
Makes sense.
You can shoot whatever way you can point. You can move whichever way.
So kind of like asteroids.
Not really. It's you're on a grid, and you're fucking running around and killing shit. Yeah.
I can see them changing it pretty.
When I summer of '81, I think I went to Alaska to see my dad during the summer because he was working up there. Mm-hmm. There was a store down there in the street. Yeah, I used to sneak up there and get cigarettes and shit without my dad knowing. What I found out, he actually did know. Yeah, that was a fun one. They had a Robotron machine in there, and they had a tournament. Highest score, longest gameplay, whatever. Each category had a reward, and then whoever came out on top got money. I played on that game on 1 quarter for 41 hours.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Not bad. So, other than Robotron, let's say name 3. Other than Robotron, other games that you would like to see remastered.
R-Type.
Okay.
I like R-Type. It's a really good game. Yeah, I'm really picky, Jarrett. You know that.
How about this? We'll say you get one other stand-up, one Xbox original, or one PlayStation, and one like Nintendo or Sega, stuff like that, to revamp it.
Okay, so in that case, I would say, I would like to see them find a way to re-release the Game Boy version of Star Wars. Pretty good game. Liked it. And add difficulty level in that so you can make it a little harder, whatever. I want to see... There's really not a lot that I played. Defender, I think, would be a pretty cool game to re-release.
Absolutely.
I know they have it on... What do they have it on? Is it on those little handheld games that you get at the dollar store?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't really know.
I mean, there's many you could choose.
Road Rash. I would love to have a reboot of Road Rash.
It's a good one.
We had fun playing that game.
Oh, yes, we did. I remember. Yes. My picks, I think, would be Rumble Racing. Loved that game. The Hook cartridge game for the Sega or Nintendo.
I don't think I ever played that.
It's a pretty good game. It's pretty good. I'd have to say I would probably want Soul Reaver or the Blood Omen games to be remastered. Because me and Mom used to play that a lot.
I would just like to see that for your mom, you know?
Yeah, she loved playing those games.
She did.
She spent hours playing that.
Yeah, she made me spend hours telling her where to go through her book. And she made me buy.
Remember that? So, speaking of games that she used to play, there's a studio that bought all the Lionhead, I think, and they're bringing out a new Fable game at last I heard. And I told Mom about it before.
I remember.
Yeah, so I'm like super excited about it, but I'm also like, I don't know if I want to play it, you know? So.
It was very difficult for me to watch Danny play it the other day.
Yeah. So, with the movies being remade that we talked about, I don't think they should remake good movies, like movies that have actually like had success and other such things. With that being said, because we both know there are some really bad movies out there. If you had to pick 3 movies that were okay bad to be remade to like hopefully get it better, what would you do? Or any movie in general that you would want to see kind of revamped to the modern age.
You know how I feel about.
I know. But we're talking like actual making remakes for kind of what they were intended, which is taking crappy movies that kind of were and trying to make them better. That's what kind of started the remake genre, as we'll call it.
Wow. I would have to say, if I could pick any 3 crappy movies that I thought were crappy.
Yeah, basically.
Gosh, that's so tough. I would really... I just can't think of anything. Maybe any of the Terminators after 2. I didn't like any of them after 2.
Dark Fate's actually pretty good. You should watch Dark Fate. It's actually really good.
I heard that, actually. I had a couple of people that I actually still talk to. I would like to... It's not a crappy movie.
Go ahead.
But I would really like to see an upgraded version of Goodfellas.
That would be really cool. New ensemble cast. Some of the younger guys of Hollywood. Not necessarily younger guys, but younger guys of Hollywood kind of step up to play the mafia. That'd be really cool. 3 that I had in my mind that I wanted to see rebooted. One of them, totally understand about you being upset about it, but one of them, I would really like to see Uncle Buck remade. And
what?
And I would like...
I get to pick the guy.
Sure, go ahead.
Based on love.
That would be really cool. That'd be really cool. My thought was get, like, maybe not necessarily another heavy set person, but someone who's kind of got the comedy chops to be an uncle in that type of situation. So I was sitting there thinking, why not The Rock?
Mm-mm.
Well, that'd be pretty funny. Big buff fucking uncle coming in.
Uncle Buck's not a big buff uncle. He's a guy who drinks a lot, gambles, smokes cigars, drives a car till it almost blows up, and has old school ways of dealing with children.
Fair enough.
I would say, how about... Yeah. I think maybe it should be somebody like... what's it? Either Craig Robinson or... What's that guy's name who has the cooking show? Well, he almost killed himself, eating himself to death or whatever. You know who I'm talking about?
Adam.
No, he's in the movie. He plays one of the thugs that kidnaps Jamie Kennedy and whatever.
Oh, the guy from The barbershop movies.
Yeah, he also played in Romeo Must Die. And
yeah, him. I know who you're talking about. I like the idea of Craig Robinson, and that made me think of Rob Corddry. He could play pretty good.
Probably work.
He could probably play a good Uncle Buck.
Big sloppy ass drum playing fish type Uncle Buck.
Yeah. Another one of the movies that I was sitting there thinking like that could use a reboot. Only got released a few years ago. That was Power Rangers. That needs a heavy reboot. I did not like Goldar in that movie, even though made sense, whatever. Did not like Rita. I did not like what's her face as Rita.
Nope.
And the kids in that movie were just forgettable, except for maybe the Black Ranger, Zach. He was really cool. I like Zach.
I know you're probably going to hate me for this, but I don't really remember any of them. So
see, that's the point. Like, they were very forgettable. It was a pretty forgettable movie. And then, of course, probably the most unpopular opinion you're going to hear on this interview is, I would really like them to remake the Lord of the Rings movies and do it right.
What needed to be done with the Lord of the Rings movies is they needed to circulate a poll among everyone and ask them if they would be willing to sit through 4 hours at the theater to see these,
or at least split the movies into parts, like Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring Part 1, 2, like they did with Deathly Hallows. And this time actually get it right, like get more realistic with it. I think they need a Tolkienist on the set, and I
need somebody who at least believes in the books.
Yeah, a Tolkienist is actually, it's kind of like an archaeologist study, but it's the study of Tolkien's works. It's an actual thing. I had to look it up. It was pretty crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So those are my picks. But probably the biggest question, or everyone wants to hear about you talk about, is what do you feel movies today have lost since the movies in the 80s and 70s? And, what have they lost or gained? Good and bad. I know everyone's going to be like, well, visual effects, of course. We're not talking...
Of course they've gained visual effects, but...
That's kind of an easy cop-out answer. What we're talking about,
Absolutely, because everyone knows that all started with George anyway, so...
Yeah.
And his ability to see the future.
Absolutely.
I would say...
Both him and Roddenberry. Even though I believe Roddenberry's a time traveler.
I don't know what you're talking about. Gene
was a time traveler.
It's not that he's a time traveler. He's a traveler, like in Generation when Wesley discovers that he also
is a traveler.
Exactly.
Nice.
So, and Gene just is cruising around the universe. Probably. Like a perambulator. I know you have no clue what that is. And if anyone out there, if I offend you or something, or you think I'm trying to be an asshole or some shit, I'm not. It's a cosmic being from a series of books called the Spell Singers series.
Some of the people who watch these videos might know. Never know. But yeah, so to you, what have movies lost?
What have they lost? They've lost their ability to keep people entertained. I mean, sure, you have Disney putting out these billion-dollar blockbusters, but...
Not counting the Marvel movies, of course.
No, actually, I'm counting the Marvel movies.
Fair enough.
I feel that they're turning to comic book movies or cartoon movies because their crop of genius writers have lost their fucking touch and they have no ability to write from their imagination to get into my imagination or your imagination or anyone else's imagination.
It's fair.
It's almost like they are the football team that goes on strike because they don't have enough money to pay the bills, when actually they should just worry about playing football.
They should just worry about making a good movie.
Back in the 60s and the 70s, there were writers who actually put some really good shit out.
Oh, absolutely. You have Alfred Hitchcock. You have Bruckheimer, Spielberg, all these guys who innovated movies back then. And nowadays, you have people just trying to copy them. And then when someone does try to like branch out and become their own director and writer, they get flack for it.
Then all the whiny ass pansies go, that's just not the right thing to do.
Like me and you both, huge Star Wars fans. We can agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody that I've heard on the internet absolutely likes the new trilogy. I like the new trilogy because Abrams tried to do something different. Yes, it messed with some of the lore, whatever, got rid of the metachlorine bullshit that fucking George wanted to put in there because no mystical fucking Christian shit can ever happen in movies. But I did like Abrams' take on it. And if you go back and watch Force Awakens, you can see that he was setting up for Rey to be a hero or possible villain. Whether she's Luke's kid or that's the way you guys wanted it, I like the Palpatine twist. Except for the fact that Palpatine's alive. Other than that, that's kind of bullshit. But her being a Palpatine, totally like that. Makes sense. To me.
I don't really like that, actually, storyline. I think maybe they should have actually made her a relative of Amidala instead of Palpatine. And then she could have been, they could have tried to mold her into whatever they wanted. Other than that, I liked them to watch them at home. I did not really like going to the theater and watching them.
Well, of course. That's just because movie theater seats are uncomfortable.
Do I think they should have done a better job with the last three movies? Absolutely. I think they should have followed the books and went along with Heir to the Empire and had Thrawn in there, and then it would have been a much better thing to see. They wouldn't have had to deal with renegade Ben Solo being the asshole that he was, and then redeeming me. In case y'all, everybody's seen it.
Spoilers alert, everybody! If you don't want to listen to it, just
sorry about that. I just think they could have done a better job.
Absolutely.
If they would have went with the Heir to the Empire trilogy, I think it would have been a whole lot better, because then, using the trilogy, they could have led into future side things like Jedi Academy, the Rogue Warrior series, the Rogue Squadron series.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's what, that's my point, is Abrams tried to do something different from the Star Wars canon, the books, whatever, all of it. He wanted to do his own story. Totally understand. I liked Force Awakens. Last Jedi, maybe a little iffy, even though I like Luke's story because it makes sense to me.
I love Luke's story.
Because everyone's so mad that Luke didn't become the great hero, and he kind of says it in the movie. What, you want me to come striding in on a starfighter and save the day? It's not how any of this works. But you're a Jedi, yes, the same type of Jedi who let Anakin rise and kill them off. That's the story Luke had. And everyone's like, well, how did he get that? Well, he proved it in Return of the Jedi. He did not defeat Vader with Jedi powers. He tapped into the dark side. And he learned you can do that and come back. But then his fall was when he tried to kill his nephew.
I really don't think he tapped into the dark side. He just unlocked some pent-up anger at probably being left by his father.
Absolutely.
And knowing that it was his father that he was going after, he was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to just beat you up. I'm not even going to try and finesse your ass.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And then when he reached that point, he was like, "Oh, I can't do this. You're my dad." Whatever.
Yeah.
Feel the good in you, mother.
And a lot of people are saying like the new trilogy kind of tried to copy the original trilogy.
I really think they should have just let Vader go and let him go through and just decimate whole planets and make people go, "Oh, we better be good."
Well, yeah. Well, we're talking. So Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of the Skywalker. A lot of people are saying that those copied the original trilogy. I can see the correlations because Rey's found on a desert planet, escapes, Millennium Falcon, all that. They find Han Solo, blah 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 blah. I can see the correlations, but it's Star Wars, and everyone's like, "Well, it's just coincidence." Well, that's the Force. That's how the Force works. That's how it was always designed to work. George Lucas created a concept to explain the coincidences in a movie accidentally. It's just the Force manipulating the time to make sure it happens the way that it wants it to. So, back to like directors. Go ahead.
There is no light or dark side to the Force. There's only the Force. The Force manipulates and plays with people's lives however it sees fit to further its own agenda.
Exactly. So back to the sorry we went off on a Star Wars tangent, everybody. That's kind of what we do. Calm down. So back to
like it? Have a nice time on the next Death Star.
Exactly. So Abrams tried to do something on his own. He wanted to tell his own story, and he did the same thing with the Star Trek series. Now, does that mean directors should have their run amok of movies that have, or series that have been made and all that stuff? Absolutely not. My least favorite movie that has ever been created is the Airbender movie that M. Night Shyamalan made. That was a terrible... Shyamalama Bing Bong.
Chicago!
That's great. Created. It was a terrible adaptation of the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like... No. Should have never been happened.
I can't say anything. I'm not a huge fan, but out of his whole enveloping circle of weird-ass films...
Signs.
I like a couple maybe, but overall, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, no, I only like a couple of them, like Unbreakable. I like that one. Signs. I liked that one.
I've never seen Unbreakable or the other ones. I've seen Signs.
I liked Signs. It was a good movie.
I thought Signs was all right. There's another one that he did.
Was it Happening?
No, it wasn't the plant one. It wasn't even... it's not like his other movies. I can't remember the name of the movie. But anyways, that one was all right. The storyline was pretty good.
Yeah.
He likes to twist shit around and try to get people to think. It doesn't matter. We can pick it out at the beginning anyways.
Usually.
However, I'm not a big Airbender fan. You know that.
Well, yeah. The cartoon was fantastic. I love the cartoon. I actually own the Blu-ray of the whole series.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so this kind of goes back to, like, what movies have lost. A lot of people say that most stories have been told. Even though me and you can come up with a story right here, right now, turn it into a billion-dollar blockbuster.
It's not that the stories have been told. What's been told is the genre, I guess. Oh, it's a medieval action film. Oh, it's a cops action film. Oh, it's a slapstick comedy where he does stupid crap. Or it's just a suck-ass, lame fucking horror film that's trying to remake the glory of the 80s horror films. So,
like the remake of fucking Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
First adventure with the horror films, I was probably 4 years old with my mom, my brother, and my sisters. We were at the drive-in in Everett, Washington. There was 3 movies playing. It was I think it's Blood Feast. 2000 Maniacs, the original, and Night of the Living Dead.
Nice.
Yeah, I watched them with my mom. My brother and sisters were hiding in the back of the car.
Doing their own thing.
Horror's all right. I wish Clive Barker would have made a few more movies. Like maybe We World or The Great and Secret Show would have been great. I do not. I believe that there's probably 150,000 screenplays that have been brought into the powers that be in Hollywood or wherever, and they said, no. Oh, look, it's a remake. Let's do this.
Yeah. Horror remakes are kind of iffy for me because Nightmare on Elm Street was terrible.
Sucked.
And I really do not like the fact that they actually turned him into a pedophile. Yes, in the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies, it alluded to it, but it never outright said it.
No, it outright said that he killed all their children in the
Yes.
Didn't say anything about him being a pedophile.
Like, they turned someone who was already a fucked up person into an even more fucked up person. Didn't need to happen. And the Friday the 13th remake was just terrible because it wasn't even his mom. It was, they skipped over fucking Pamela and went straight to Jason killing people. Even though I do like the fact that Jason ran. Like, don't get me wrong, shambling Jason's cool and all, but a Jason that can, like, bum rush you at, like, 15 miles an hour is terrifying.
I totally get that, but if you're going to have superhuman Jason, then there's going to be other superhumans.
Well, no, it's not like he's not actually running 15.
What I'm trying to get at is a zombie is a zombie is a zombie.
Well, yeah.
If you're dead, you're freaking dead. Parts of you are going to fall off. You're not going to run after anybody. You're going to barely walk.
Well, see, so the Friday the 13th, the remake actually remakes, I think, the second one where he's still human. He doesn't become human until, like, they lightning bolt him and Alice Cooper starts playing Jason music.
I'm thinking anybody better to play Jason music than Alice Cooper.
I actually think he has a music video where Jason shows up.
Unless, of course, it's the band he's in right now.
Yeah. So,
I'm not going to plug him, though, because that ain't me.
Absolutely.
If I'm going to plug anybody, it's going to be Splintered Throne, Pacific Northwest Metal.
There you go. Go check out Splintered Throne if you're in the Pacific Northwest.
You can look it up anywhere. They're really good metal if you like old school metal.
There you go. So to me, what movies have lost from the 80s is heart. Like, we have a lot of movies that they don't have the same feel, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, like John Hughes movies. We don't have a director that's doing John Hughes teen movies. John Hughes is probably the greatest teen director that there is. He can throw a bunch of teens together and make it feel like, oh, these kids could actually be kids. Like, I see them. Like, I know someone, like you probably, when you went and saw Breakfast Club, you were like, oh my god, I know a Bender, or I am a Bender.
I didn't go to the theater and see Breakfast Club.
You were already out of school at that point, right?
Yeah, and that was in the ripe old age of the new beginning of home video.
Well, still, like, you could watch it and be like, I knew a Bender, or I knew a Miller.
We had whole groups of those people.
You know, and like, and that's what...
But the thing is the town I grew up in, there was a X amount of kids, and we were all within the same age, and we all went to the same parties. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if if you're a preppy, rich kid, jocks, whatever. It doesn't matter. We all went to the same parties. We all hung out at the same social events. What made us different was, I would have to say, GPA. At school, there was a social hierarchy, I'm sure.
Jocks, nerds.
Yeah, I could talk to all of them. Didn't like hanging out with any of them.
Well, of course.
Yeah, and I was one of them, so...
Yeah. And so, like...
I was probably the only stoner jock fucking kid around.
You were Emilio Estevez and John Bender at the same time.
Absolutely not.
So, like, and that's like, so we don't have any actual John Hughes type of directors anymore. And,
no.
Like, and you can't even make 80s movies nowadays because let's say they were to do a Breakfast Club movie tomorrow. All of a sudden it gets released. There's going to be a complaining that, oh my god, there was not a single black kid. There wasn't a single Hispanic kid.
Oh my god, those kids were smoking pot.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
With that being said, if there was an actual, like, minority character in the movie, people would be complaining, well, why does he have to be in detention? Why can't he be a good kid? Well, then it kind of defeats the purpose of making the Breakfast Club movie.
Because he's a bad kid?
You wouldn't even have to make the...
Sorry.
This is going to sound really offensive, but you don't even have to make the token black character John Bender or Emilio Estevez. You can make him Brian.
Okay.
The nerdy guy.
Here you go. Check this out. Okay, you want to know how that works? I went to school in a school, and the populace, all the kids were predominantly white. I had one Mexican friend, and he considered himself white because he didn't know Spanish, didn't speak Spanish, nothing. I think his dad might have, but his mom sure the hell didn't. And you know the Davises that I talk about, that's my family. That's the only black family in the entire town. If you were going to do a movie about Breakfast Club at our school, probably would have been me, my friend Leroy, Burl, and Dean, and probably Down. So it would have been mostly white kids and one black kid. However, we didn't consider Burl black.
He was just a person.
He was a partner. He's my friend.
Yeah.
My brother. So when you get on that, the whole race
spirals out of control.
What irritates the shit out of me is none of you fuckers seem to realize we're all one race. One. I don't give a damn what color you are.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And so that's kind of my point, is like, if you were like, we'll go to Ferris Bueller. If you were trying to make a Ferris Bueller movie today, PTA would be all over it. You're teaching kids to skip school.
And you're teaching kids the kids they meet while they're doing stupid crap are always drug dealers.
Like, that's not what Ferris Bueller was about. Ferris Bueller was about... Absolutely.
He's a sorcerer.
Absolutely. He's got tiger's blood.
That's right.
So, and that's like, and the Ferris Bueller was about not really skipping school. It was more about taking a day to yourself, going having fun.
It was about
doing what you want to do.
Trying to
enjoy life.
Have a taste of life before you have to throw yourself into 4 years of hell trying to advance your education to make your parents happy, to achieve the stupid illusion of having a house and 2.3 kids and a dog, and that's all bullshit.
Exactly.
It's bullshit.
Matthew Broderick in the first couple of minutes says it best. How could I do school on a day like this? There you go. That makes sense to me. With that also, like, a lot of the John Hughes movies you couldn't really do, like, just because of the fact that you have so many people nowadays that are willing to fight you over every decision you make. Like, when it comes to movies.
What the problem is they're allowing them to do that.
Exactly.
This country is based upon, you can say whatever the fuck you want to me. I don't give a damn. You're not hurting me.
We can still be friends.
I give two shits and a fuck. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what religion you are. However, I do care how you treat people. So if you're treating your family like shit, then you need to have your ass kicked. That's about simple truth.
Exactly. So, toward the tail end of our interview here, music.
What music?
Like,
ain't no music anymore.
Fair enough. And that's kind of what I want, like, So you grew up during probably a lot of what a lot of people say is the greatest time for music, because it branched from basic rock and roll, country, soul, jazz, what they call the five.
No, there's one more in there, blues.
Blues. Most
blues
people.
Is a main.
So I think what they say is blues, jazz, soul, rock and roll, and country. Those were the main music types back then.
Actually, probably.
And you, being part of the 80s and 70s generation, you got to see the actual branching of those five steeples of music. Rock and roll became metal, grunge.
No, rock and roll and blues fused and became acid hard rock. What really caused metal to come on the scene is nervous drummers always stepping up the tempo, and everybody else has to keep up. And then the next thing you know, you're just going so fast that you're just, the song's done. Bam! You're like, what the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
I got nervous.
I can't keep the beat. I don't know. Metal was an accident. And then once it started, bam, it was over.
And then metal became death metal.
Speed metal, thrash, fucking...
spiraled from there.
So much metal, so much rock. I really hate what they call alternative. Back in my day, we called that new wave or shitty punk. You know,
yeah, and then of course, all
assholes.
Yeah, basically, I guess.
Pretty much.
We still have passes.
I would come into the room, hear a song in the room, and go, I hate this fucking song, and turn it off.
Click.
My friends would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "That song sucks. I'm not going to listen to it. And this is my house."
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
I don't care. It's your house. Turn that shit off.
It'll only take like 3 minutes and be done. So, then put something else on.
Oh, absolutely. So, so everyone says that you grew up in that time.
I did.
Or not necessarily. 80s was probably the best time for music because, again, it sprawled off. Like, rock and roll became hair metal, hair rock.
You know that.
All that.
Before, okay, the progression of music started in the 50s, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Rock and roll started getting more risque and progressive, and they started taking more chances at saying shit in their songs. And then along comes the Doors man himself, and he says shit you should not say on TV back then. Bam! It takes off from there.
Queen.
Rock and roll becomes acid rock and punk rock, and then that all progressed into metal. What I loved about music from that era, I would have to say, would be what they eventually would call, I don't know, glam metal or whatever. I don't know. You know, Motley Crue, Judas Priest, real metal, but music that actually you could understand what they're feeling when they write these songs.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that. I actually got to see the debut of MTV. And I got to watch it go from a, channel that plays music to a channel that doesn't play music. Why are they still called MTV? They should be called DTV.
Yeah.
Or STV. They suck. Sucks TV.
Yeah. So.
VH1.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, along the lines of the time of 80s, let's talk about...
What do you want to know?
Let's talk about the one thing that probably is the biggest change, for you at least, D&D. We're talking original D&D versus the new...
The new here, let's make it easier by making it more difficult game.
Sure.
Sure. Because originally... You didn't have 4 million races that you had to choose from. You didn't have subcategories of bullshit. You were either a magic user, a ranger, a fighter, a thief. That's it. It's not like now, because you could be what? Under fighter, there's probably what, 6, 7 categories you can be, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. That's their way of making it easier.
While also making it a little more difficult.
Absolutely making it more difficult.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because back in my day, we had these little paperback pamphlets that were like probably 12, 15 pages, maybe a little more. And they had some really cool stuff that a dungeon master could roll up and let you get this stuff. Sure, they still have some of it in this, but they don't have half the stuff that we did.
While also having like twice as much at the same time.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We were going through a dungeon and I opened a chest. And in the chest was a sword. Awesome sword. Elvin Smith. It was great. Great sword. The only bad part about the sword was it made your bodily functions twice what they normally would be. So that, we could be walking along and be like, I go to the bathroom, sip. But the sword fought for you by itself. You didn't have to hold on to it.
Cool.
Yes. And if you rolled a 20, it lasts the duration of the battle.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's actually badass.
That's the kind of stuff we had.
And see, now if you want that, you have to kind of talk to your DM, or the DM kind of has to think of that up of himself.
And we have to sit down and figure out what kind of dice rolls to do and how you would have to do it. And it's just, they took some of the fun out, I would have to say.
I could see that, and I could see a lot of people saying that they took the fun out. But with that, what do you like about the new 5e?
I like some of the subclasses.
Some of the sub-races or classes specifically?
Yep, because we didn't have drow, and we didn't have... However, we did roll up and make up our own sub-races out of entertainment that we were watching or involved with or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually how a lot of the D&D books that you see out there, like all the new 5e stuff, is actually people doing their own campaigns, like Drow, and specifically Dritz. He was an actual D&D character that I guess
the Forgotten Realms are
an actual campaign.
Most of the Dungeons and Dragons novels are.
Yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons movies, or probably something you guys don't know, is the Dungeons and Dragons movie with Marlon Wayans or Sean Wayans. I think it's Marlon. It's Marlon. So that particular movie is an actual campaign. That's an actual campaign that was played. I love that campaign.
Damodar.
That's an actual I would want to be a part of that campaign.
What a badass,
Damodar.
villain type guy.
Exactly. So, other than the races,
he came a long way from a Karate Kid movie.
I know, that's crazy.
That is the same guy that plays one of the dojo leaders, right?
I think so. Sure. I think so.
Only 2 or 3.
One of them. So other than the races and subclasses, the weapons, the legendary weapons that you've seen, what are you thinking?
I think some of them are really cool.
Did you have the Vecna artifacts back in the old?
We had the hand, eye, and I think I want to say a leg, maybe, or something. I don't know. There was 3 parts to Vecna.
See, so nowadays there's only
2, right?
There's only 2. There's the eye and the hand. Something you probably, I don't think I've ever told you, is who I've talked about Joe Magliano before on that.
I know who he is.
So he's an actor. Well, he was on Critical Role, that D&D show that I watch.
Yeah.
Well, they had to fight Vecna, and so he did a betrayal where he was going to destroy the hand, and instead of doing it, he cut off his own hand, attaches it, pulls from his healing pool, teleports out. Wizards of the Coast loved that betrayal so much they actually made it into a story in D&D. And I thought that was really cool. And I was sitting there wondering,
That is pretty cool, yeah.
I was wondering if Gary Gygax maybe did that over the years of him doing D&D. Like maybe he heard of a story or something and put it into the D&D books that you guys used to play with.
I'm sure. Nah,
maybe not
manuals, you mean?
Maybe not the second generation or not.
Are you talking novels or?
Yeah, the novels, like maybe something like that, or the books themselves.
Pretty sure that I remember buying novels. It was Dungeons and Dragons, Forgotten Realms. There's another one. I can't remember. But there's like 3 or 4 different novel series throughout the years. I'm pretty sure that I remember seeing a letter stating to the fact that most of those stories are campaigns.
Fair enough. All right, everybody. That is the tail end of our interview with my father. You will probably see him again on the channel when we do our next interview months from now after the coronavirus is gone and we're probably all wiped out by the alien race that's going to come in April.
I ain't scared.
Neither am I.
I got something for him.
Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're so inclined, and if you're also so inclined at the same time, hit that bell notification. That way you can know whenever I upload a video.
And if you can't, don't be a sissy.
And if you guys disagreed or want to add to the conversation that me and my dad just had on the video, put it in the comment section down below. I will read them. He probably won't.
I might.
He might. You never know.
Just remember, there's no point in being a jackass when there's so many of us half-old, opinionated assholes still around who believe that if you fuck up, you need to have your ass kicked.
Fair enough. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed. Pip pip de doodly doo. See you in the next one. Peace.